let's talk about my Step 2 CK dedicated routine and how I believe it helped me score my best on USMLE Step 2. If you're new here, my name's Alyssa. I'm a fourth year medical student, and I am part of the first cohort that had a pass-fail Step 1, but a scored Step 2. So let's go ahead and get right to it. The first thing for me is establishing a consistent morning routine. So every day during dedicated, I would wake up at 6 a.m. And after that, I would usually take the dog out for a walk. And that way you can get some movement and some sunlight early on in the morning. That for me helped me stay more alert, at least in the morning. And it also helped me establish a routine in terms of a consistent wake time, getting sunlight exposure. That way then in the evenings, I could go to sleep more easily. After walking the dog, I would usually go ahead and get started on my first block of questions. So my goal during dedicated was to get through about 80 to 100 questions a day, usually 100 questions a day. And this could be made of either my UWorld incorrects, this could be made of NBME questions or forms, either the CMS forms or their more full-length exams. And then, so that would be my goal for the day in terms of studying. So if I was doing a brand new NBME CMS form, which is a clinical mastery series, if you haven't heard of it, it's where you have different forms for psychiatry, family medicine, internal medicine, surgery. It kind of goes through all of the shelf exam material. So I went through all of these forms twice, either, throughout the year and during dedicated, if that makes sense. So I got through all of the forms twice by the time I was through with dedicated, whether that was earlier on in the year or during dedicated. But if I was taking a CMS form for the first time, what I would do is I would take screenshots of each question before actually answering the question. That way, when I went through for my second pass, I wouldn't have an answer choice selected, so I didn't give myself any clues. During the day, so wake up, take the dog out, then I would do one 50-question set of like the NBME practice exam, for instance, or CMS form. So I'd go through all of that. Then I would take a break and have breakfast. I'm not much of a morning eating person, so for me, it's fine if I did a question set first, then had breakfast, and then I would do the second question set. Then I would do a break and go to the gym. It was important for me to establish a consistent gym routine during dedicated. I would, lift weights or I would go for a run, and that just helped me to get some new scenery and stay sort of alert for the rest of the day. I also don't really like sitting for extended periods of time, so that was really good. And after I did the gym and had a lunch break, then I would go through and I would review all of the questions that I did earlier on in the day. I wanted to make sure that I was sort of simulating the test as best as I could in terms of doing all of the questions first and then reviewing. I thought if I did the questions, reviewed a set, did the questions, reviewed a set, then the second question set I would be weaker because I had spent a bunch of time reviewing the prior question set. So I just made sure I got all 100 of my questions done first and then reviewed them all later. Then I would review everything and then kind of, be done for the night. If I was going through a question set for the second time, I would look back to when I had previously taken the test, and if I got a question wrong for a second time, I would write out all of the information for that question so I wouldn't miss it again. For instance, I would write out maybe the pathophysiology for the disease, certain symptoms and signs, how to diagnose, how to treat complications. So I'd write that out with, pen and paper, it was pen and paper. And that way I could sort of commit that more to memory if I had missed it twice. I would also do this for questions that I got correct the first time and then got incorrect the second time. That way I just, was writing down all of the things. Let's see here. But for the first time through a question set, like if this wasn't my second time through, but my first time through the questions, I wouldn't write anything down. I would just kind of use this time to learn things. But only on my second time through, I would be writing down things if I had gotten it incorrect. That's how I sort of did my question sets. As far as breaks, I would take breaks liberally throughout the day. I just wanted to be really sort of mindful about my day and making sure that I was really fresh or as fresh as I could be. So I would be taking breaks whenever I needed them, even if it was in between, even if it was during a question set. I know this doesn't exactly simulate the exam experience, but if I have to go to the bathroom, I'm not just going to hold it and then You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was important to be really flexible. So when I would start taking the exams, or when I like purchase the exams, I would purchase the self-paced NBME forms. That way I could go at my own pace and you have a lot more time to do them. Okay, so we talked about the CMS forms. What else did I want to talk about today? Talked about the review of that. Okay, in terms of, so I just wanted to talk about burnout and dedicated for a little bit. So right when I started my dedicated period, I was like super burned out. I just got done with third year. Third year was really intense. It's intense for everybody. You're in the clinic or the hospital all day and studying before and or after your rotations. And it's just a very exhausting year. There's just so many new things and you're having to impress people and be on your best behavior all of the time. And that can be really difficult because, you want good evaluations and that just takes a lot of mental energy. So when I first started dedicated, I was really burned out and having a hard time actually focusing and studying. So there were a couple of things that I did. First off, I took a few days off initially in dedicated just to sort of, have a little bit of a break. And then once I actually started in on dedicated, once I realized I was really burned out and having a hard time focusing and like having the motivation to study, I decided to start studying in different locations. So I would go to different coffee shops and just like different places in my apartment complex to study. That way I was kind of changing things up a lot, and the change of scenery really helped me a lot in terms of motivation. If I saw people around me working, it was easier to work. It also helped me to have, things going on around me because then I felt a little bit less alone. There is a lot of loneliness to dedicated study. It's, you're on your own, you're not with anyone, and you're used to being with people throughout like the rest of third year. So, yeah, that was good for me. I also thought it was good because being around all of these people throughout the day helped me to be less distracted when I actually took the actual exam. So I was used to having people coming in and out of the apartment and hearing the doors and just having things going on. So I felt I was a little bit less distracted for my actual exam. And I wonder if this had something to do with it because I wasn't studying only in my quiet office. I was also studying places where, and taking these forms in places where there was a lot going on. But I really do think that it helps me with the burnout aspect and having motivation just by studying in different locations. And sometimes if somebody I knew in the apartment would come over and say hi, it was just like another, like, I don't know, like it just helped keep me motivated and keep me awake. You could probably achieve the same thing by taking the exams at your school library if you know people there or any other sort of library. But yeah, that was something that was really, really helpful for me. So, and then another thing that helped me with the burnout was trying to stay in contact with friends and family during dedicated. So just because of that loneliness factor, I feel like I get a lot more burned out and a lot less motivated if I feel lonely or alone. So just staying in contact with people really helped me a lot in terms of, feeling good. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is all the stuff that I wanted to talk about, but this was my sort of dedicated experience and sort of the things that I did in terms of waking up, working out, taking flexible breaks, and changing up my study locations. If there's anything in specific you want to hear more about, let me know. And in the meantime, I guess, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.